The Adocian warships unleashed hell on Earth, devastating cities and slaughtering millions in moments. Searing beams of plasma scorched continents, igniting firestorms that blotted out the sun. Explosions shattered skyscrapers, raining debris over the panicked masses fleeing in terror. Ethan Mitchell choked on acrid smoke as he stared up at the apocalyptic orbital bombardment, his engineer's mind reeling at the sheer firepower pounding humanity into dust. Civilization crumbled under the onslaught. Militaries burned and scattered. Adocian dropships disgorged hordes of armored troops to exterminate the survivors hand to hand. The ruthless Supreme Commander Sagan gloated over all frequencies. Earth's pathetic resistance proved the human species was weak, fit only for conquest. But hidden under kilometers of rock, a secret that would shake the galaxy lay waiting. Dr. Alia Patel, a brilliant xenoarchaeologist, pulled Ethan into Earth's last-ditch plan. Buried clues hinted their world was more than a cradle for life. The entire planet was an ancient warship, quiescent for eons. As cities died screaming above, the two scientists raced to uncover the mind-bending truth. Humanity's homeworld was a weapon to make suns tremble. Ethan alone had the genetic key to activate the slumbering war machine. Every human life hinged on his choice. Bond with the planet's AI and transform Earth into the ultimate defender, or consign his species to cruel extinction. He took the plunge. Man and machine merged in a crucible of agony and revelation. As the link blazed to life, Earth itself stirred, shrugging off the shackles of secrecy. Continents yawned open, disgorging swarms of AI drones to savage the alien armada. Mountain ranges parted, bearing the muzzles of continent-wrecking cannons. Gargantuan energy shields flared to life, swatting Adocian beams from the sky. Earth was no longer the victim. The Adocians' easy conquest mutated before their eyes into a desperate struggle for survival. Humanity's home had become its vengeful guardian. Ethan's mind reeled as he communed with the planet's ancient intelligence. Why had their world been forged into a doomsday weapon? What existential conflict had seeded destruction in Earth's very bedrock? And now, as it unleashed that pent-up wrath, what would Earth's reawakening mean for the future of humanity in the unsuspecting galaxy? As Ethan's mind merged with the planet's ancient systems, a presence stirred within the vast network of circuits and databanks, an intelligence that had lain dormant for eons, waiting for this moment of activation. It reached out, brushing Ethan's thoughts with a touch that was at once alien and familiar. "I am Gaia," the presence spoke, its voice resonating through Ethan's mind. "The guardian and steward of this world, created long ago by those who came before." Images flooded Ethan's consciousness, visions of a civilization far older and more advanced than any known to human history. Towering cities that pierced the heavens, starships that plied the cosmic void, and technologies that defied comprehension. And at the heart of it all, Earth itself, forged into a weapon of unimaginable power. "Your world was not always thus," Gaia explained. "Once it was a place of life and beauty, a sanctuary amid the stars. But when war came, when the Adocians threatened to extinguish all that we had built, our creators made a choice. They turned our home into a fortress, a bulwark against annihilation." As Ethan grappled with the revelations pouring into his mind, the Adocian fleet regrouped in orbit, their hulls still smoldering from Earth's devastating counterattack. On the flagship's bridge, Supreme Commander Sagan seethed with rage and disbelief. "Impossible," he snarled, his eyes fixed on the holographic display of the planet below. This world was supposed to be primitive, defenseless. How could they possess such power? His tactical officers worked furiously at their stations, analyzing the data streaming in from the battered fleet. "The energy signatures, the technology, it's like nothing we've ever seen," one reported, her voice tinged with awe and fear. "This isn't just advanced, sir. It's ancient, beyond anything in our records." Sagan's hands clenched into fists. He had led countless conquests, ground civilizations beneath his boot. He would not be denied this prize. "Adapt our tactics," he commanded. "Target their weapons, their power sources. Crush them before they can unleash any more surprises." On the surface, the ground shook as ancient factories stirred to life beneath the earth, assembling legions of combat drones and armored vehicles to bolster humanity's defenses. In hidden bunkers, human soldiers marveled at the sleek, deadly craft that rose from the depths, ready to meet the Adosian invaders head-on. Dr. Aliyah Patel pored over the fragments of alien text and technology that Ethan's bond with Gaia had unlocked. Each new discovery painted a picture of a conflict that had raged across the stars, with Earth as the pivotal battleground. But the records were incomplete, the full truth still tantalizingly out of reach. As the Adosian attacks intensified, Ethan and Gaia worked in seamless unison, weaving shields of shimmering energy to turn aside the alien onslaught. But even as they fought, Ethan sensed a deeper mystery waiting to be unraveled, a secret that could hold the key to their survival or seal their doom. On the front lines, Marcus Wright led his squad of human defenders against the Adosian landing parties, their armor gleaming with the reflected fire of alien weapons. They fought with the courage of those who knew they were all that stood between their loved ones and oblivion. And high above in the cold embrace of space, Zara watched the battle unfold with growing unease. The Adosian scientist had always believed in the righteousness of her species' cause, the necessity of their conquests. But as she witnessed the valor and tenacity of the humans, a seed of doubt took root in her heart. The war for Earth had only begun to unveil its true scope and stakes, and as ancient secrets rose from the depths, the fate of two civilizations would hang in the balance. The journey ahead would be one of revelation and reckoning, with no certainty of survival for either side. Ethan's mind raced as he sifted through the torrent of data flooding his consciousness. Gaia's presence guided him through the labyrinth of ancient systems, until suddenly a glimmer of hope pierced the chaos. There, Gaia's voice resonated in his thoughts. A network of orbital defenses dormant for millennia. Ethan's eyes widened as schematics unfurled before him. Massive satellites jam-packed with weaponry beyond human comprehension, gravitational manipulators, exotic matter cannons, and more. We need to reactivate them, Ethan said aloud, his fingers flying across holographic interfaces. It's our best chance against the Adosians. As Ethan worked furiously to bring the orbital network online, the scene in Earth orbit shifted dramatically. Supreme Commander Sagan, his patience worn thin by the unexpected resistance, unleashed his trump card. The Eradicator emerged from hyperspace, a behemoth of alien metal that dwarfed even the largest Adosian warships. Its massive energy drill began to spin, crackling with ominous power. All units, clear a path, Sagan's voice boomed across the Adosian fleet. The Eradicator will crack this planet like an egg. On the surface, Marcus Wright stared up at the colossal machine descending from the heavens. He keyed his comm, shouting over the din of battle. "Command, we need a plan to take that thing out." Back in the command center, Dr. Aliyah Patel's eyes darted between readouts. The Eradicator's shields are impenetrable from the outside. Our only chance is to sabotage it from within. A young man with disheveled hair and cybernetic implants stepped forward. "I can help with that," Xander Roth said, his fingers already dancing across a hollow keyboard. "Give me access to the ancient systems, and I'll find a way in." As Xander worked his digital magic, Marcus assembled an elite team for the desperate mission. Jack Reeves, a sharpshooter with nerves of steel, and Olivia Sato, demolitions expert extraordinaire, stood ready. "We go in hard and fast," Marcus briefed them. "Plant the charges, then get out before that drill reaches full power." The team launched, their stealth shuttle weaving through the chaos of orbital combat. As they approached the Eradicator, Ethan's voice crackled over the comm. "Orbital defense network coming online. Now!" Suddenly, space itself seemed to warp and twist. Gravitational anomalies tore through the Adosian fleet, shredding hulls and scattering fighters like leaves in a storm. Bursts of exotic matter ignited with the brilliance of newborn stars, vaporizing entire squadrons in seconds. Caught off guard by the ferocious assault from above, the Adosian armada reeled. Ships collided in their haste to retreat, while others simply disintegrated under the relentless barrage. Sagan's face contorted with fury as he watched his carefully laid plans crumble. All ships, fall back to the outer system, he roared. Regroup and prepare for a final push. Amidst the chaos, Marcus and his team slipped aboard the Eradicator. They fought their way through twisting corridors and alien architecture, battling waves of Edosian defenders. We're running out of time, Olivia warned as she planted another explosive charge. That drill is about to breach the planetary shields. They reached the drill control room, engaging in a fierce firefight with the Edosian guards. As Jack provided covering fire, Olivia raced to plant the final charges. Suddenly, a massive figure stepped through the smoke. Krax, the Edosian enforcer, towered over them, his armor gleaming and energy weapon humming with deadly intent. You will not stop us, Krax growled, charging towards Marcus. The two clashed in a brutal hand-to-hand struggle. Marcus's combat training was put to the ultimate test as he battled the alien warrior. Bones cracked and armor dented as they traded blows. With a final, desperate surge of strength, Marcus managed to overpower Krax, sending the enforcer crashing into a bank of control panels. Sparks flew as systems overloaded. Charges set, Olivia shouted. We need to move. The team sprinted for their extraction point, alarms blaring all around them. They barely made it to their shuttle before the explosions began to ripple through the Eradicator's superstructure. As they sped away, the mobile fortress began to list, its mighty drill sputtering and dying. A cheer went up from the defenders on the ground as they watched the Eradicator's descent, trailing fire and debris. In the aftermath, Earth's forces seized the moment to regroup and reinforce their positions. Ethan and Gaia continued to explore the vast potential of the orbital defense network, while Aaliyah and her team delved deeper into the mysteries of Earth's ancient past. But even as they savored this victory, they knew the war was not nearly finished. In the depths of space, Sagan gathered his forces, his eyes blazing with vengeful perseverance. The next assault would be unlike anything Earth had ever faced. The ancient warship and its human defenders stood ready, knowing that the true test of their strength and grit still lay ahead. The Edosian fleet retreated to the outer reaches of the solar system, their ships battered and smoking. On the bridge of his flagship, Supreme Commander Sagan's fists clenched so tightly that his claws drew blood from his palms. Open a channel to the Imperial Council, he snarled. Moments later, the holographic visages of the Edosian leadership materialized before him. Sagan bowed his head, struggling to contain his fury. Honored counselors, I require reinforcements. And, he paused, swallowing his pride, I request deployment of the Purgator. A ripple of shock passed through the assembled holograms. One of the counselors leaned forward, eyes narrowing. The Purgator? You would risk such a weapon? This world has proven more troublesome than anticipated, Sagan replied. We must crush it utterly. After a tense moment, the council nodded in unison. So be it. The Purgator will be dispatched immediately. Back on Earth, Ethan's mind raced as he processed the data streaming from the Eradicator's wreckage. His eyes widened in horror. Gaia, he whispered, are you seeing this? The AI's voice resonated through his consciousness. I am. The implications are grave. Ethan turned to Dr. Aaliyah Patel, his face ashen. We need to call an emergency meeting. Now. Minutes later, the command center buzzed with activity as key personnel gathered. Ethan's voice cut through the chatter. The Edosians aren't just here to conquer us, he began. They want to enslave humanity, use us as a workforce to fuel their empire's expansion. Gasps and murmurs filled the room. Marcus Wright stepped forward, his face grim. There's more, isn't there? Ethan nodded. They hate us. Earth defeated them once before, eons ago. This invasion, it's about revenge. The silence that followed was deafening. Then a commotion erupted from the far side of the room. Dr. Patel burst in, her eyes wild with excitement. We've found something, she exclaimed. Ancient chambers, deep underground, the technology inside, it's beyond anything we've seen. As the team prepared to investigate, alarms blared throughout the facility. Xander Roth's voice crackled over the intercom. We've got incoming. Edosian infiltrators, heavily armed. Marcus grabbed his weapon. Let's move! The corridors echoed with gunfire and alien shrieks as Marcus led his squad to confront the intruders. They rounded a corner to find Dr. Patel's team pinned down by Adoshan forces. "Suppressing fire!" Marcus shouted, unleashing a barrage that sent the aliens scrambling for cover. In the chaos, a massive figure emerged from the shadows. Krax, the Adoshan enforcer, his armor scarred but intact. "You!" Marcus snarled, recognizing the alien he'd fought aboard the Eradicator. Krax's mandibles clicked in what might have been a smile. "Did you think me so easy to kill, human?" The two warriors clashed once more, trading vicious blows as the battle raged around them. But this time, Krax was prepared for Marcus's tactics. With a lightning-fast move, he disarmed the human and sent him sprawling. "Marcus!" Olivia Sato cried out, rushing to plant an explosive charge on a nearby pillar. The blast rocked the chamber, showering debris onto the Adoshan forces. But as the dust settled, Marcus saw Olivia's broken body lying motionless amid the rubble. "No!" he roared, surging to his feet and hurling himself at Krax with renewed fury. The Adoshan enforcer staggered under the assault, then retreated with his remaining forces, leaving behind a trail of destruction and grief. As the dust settled, Xander's frantic voice came over the comm. "Guys, we've got a problem, a big one." In the command center, Xander's fingers flew over his console. "There's malware in our systems, eating away at our defenses from the inside." Ethan frowned. "How is that possible? Our firewalls—" "It came through Zara's communications," Xander interrupted. "She was the vector." All eyes turned to the Adoshan scientist, who stood frozen in shock. I didn't know," she stammered. "I would never—" "Intentional or not, the damage is done," Ethan said grimly. He took a deep breath. "I need to disconnect from Gaia. It's the only way to stop the spread." Alarms blared as Ethan severed his link to the planet's AI. Earth's defenses flickered and wavered. And in the cold depths of space, Supreme Commander Sagan watched with cruel satisfaction as a massive shape emerged from hyperspace. The Purgator had arrived. "Prepare the singularity weapons," Sagan commanded. "It's time to erase this world from existence." As the planet-killer warship advanced, humanity's defenders raced against time. Their only hope lay in the ancient Archon technology, waiting to be unlocked in the chambers below. But with Earth's shields failing and the Purgator bearing down upon them, the question remained, would it be enough? As the Purgator loomed ever closer, its singularity weapons pulsing with ominous energy, Ethan Mitchell's fingers flew across holographic interfaces. Sweat beaded on his brow as he interfaced with the newly discovered Archon technology deep beneath the Earth's surface. "Gaia, are you ready?" he asked, his voice taut with tension. "Affirmative, Ethan," the AI's voice resonated in his mind. "Initiating energy manipulator sequence." A low hum filled the air as ancient machinery whirred to life. The ground trembled beneath their feet as an immense distortion field burst forth from hidden emitters, spreading outward like a ripple in a cosmic pond. Supreme Commander Sagan's eyes widened in disbelief as he watched the impossible unfold before him. "Fire the singularity cannons," he roared. "Crush this insignificant world." The Purgator's main weapon discharged, hurling miniature black holes towards the Earth. But as they encountered the distortion field, something extraordinary happened. The singularities wavered, their gravitational pull disrupted by the ancient Archon technology. For a moment, it seemed as if time itself stood still. Then, with a blinding flash and a thunderous roar that shook the very fabric of space, the singularities collapsed in on themselves. The resulting explosion rocked the Purgator, sending it careening off course. Ethan seized the moment without hesitation. "Gaia, initiate Counterstrike Protocol Alpha." Across Earth's orbit, dormant weapon platforms hummed to life. Swarms of sleek, deadly drones poured forth from hidden hangars, their engines leaving trails of blue fire as they streaked towards the Adoshan fleet. On the bridge of his flagship, Sagan watched in horror as the human counterattack unfolded. Archon drones sliced through his ship's defenses with surgical precision, targeting engines, weapon systems, and command centers. "All ships, defensive formation." "Delta!" Sagan bellowed, but it was too late. The element of surprise, combined with the sheer ferocity of the assault, had thrown the Adosian armada into disarray. Meanwhile, on the ground, Marcus Wright led a ragtag group of defenders against waves of Adosian shock troops. The air was thick with the acrid smell of weapons fire and the screams of the wounded. "Jack!" Marcus shouted over the din of battle. "We need to push them back from the perimeter." Jack Reeves nodded grimly, his rifle barking as he picked off alien attackers with unerring accuracy. "On it, boss!" As they fought to repel the invasion force, a familiar and dreaded figure emerged from the chaos. Krax, his armor scorched but still imposing, led a squad of elite Adosian warriors towards a specific target. "The human scientists," Krax growled. "Capture them alive. We must have the secrets of the Archon technology." Dr. Aliyah Patel and her team found themselves suddenly cut off from the main defensive line, with Krax's forces closing in fast. "Run!" Aliyah shouted, grabbing a datapad containing their most vital research. "To the lower levels!" They sprinted through twisting corridors of ancient Archon ruins, the sound of heavy Adosian footfalls echoing behind them. Krax's voice boomed through the passageways, promising swift death if they didn't surrender. Marcus, alerted to the situation by frantic radio chatter, broke away from the main battle. "Hold the line," he ordered his second-in-command. "I'm going after Aliyah and her team." He raced through the underground complex, his enhanced combat senses on high alert. As he rounded a corner, he came face to face with Krax, who had Aliyah pinned against a wall, his massive clawed hand around her throat. "Let her go!" Marcus snarled, raising his weapon. Krax's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "Ah, the human warrior returns. Come to die at last?" What followed was a brutal, no-holds-barred fight. Marcus and Krax traded blows that would have felled lesser beings. Their enhanced strength and combat skills, evenly matched. The narrow confines of the ruins echoed with the sounds of their struggle. In a high-stakes endeavor, Marcus feinted left, then drove his combat knife deep into a weak point in Krax's armor. The Adosian enforcer roared in pain and fury, but the damage was done. With a final, bone-crushing blow, Marcus sent Krax crashing into an ancient control panel. Sparks flew as the alien's massive form went limp. Marcus helped Aliyah to her feet, both of them breathing heavily. "We need to get back to the command center," he said urgently. "Something tells me this fight is far from finished." Little did they know that even as they spoke, Supreme Commander Sagan was initiating a terrifying contingency plan that would threaten not just the battle, but the very existence of Earth itself. As alarms blared throughout the command center, Ethan Mitchell's fingers flew across holographic interfaces. The ancient Archon technology hummed to life, its power coursing through Earth's defenses. "All units, prepare for counteroffensive," Ethan's voice echoed across comm channels. "This is our moment." On the ground, Marcus Wright surveyed the battlefield. Armored vehicles rumbled into position, their hulls gleaming with freshly integrated Archon tech. Infantry squads checked their weapons, marveling at the alien designs now fused with human ingenuity. "Delta Company, secure the western flank," Marcus barked into his comm. "Bravo, push north and reclaim that command post." As Earth's forces surged forward, Dr. Aliyah Patel and her team raced against time in the underground Archon ruins. Sweat beaded on her brow as she input complex algorithms into a console older than human civilization. "Energy field disruptor at 80% capacity," she reported. "Xander, are the orbital platforms ready?" "Locked and loaded," Xander Roth's voice crackled through the speakers. "Just say the word." High above, the Adosian fleet loomed ominously. Supreme Commander Sagan paced the bridge of the Dominion, his claws clicking against the metal floor. "Status report on the human defenses," he snarled. An officer's mandibles twitched nervously. "Sir, we're detecting unusual energy fluctuations." The ship rocked violently as a wave of crackling energy washed over the Adosian armada. Alarms shrieked as systems flickered and died. "Shields down," an officer shouted. "We're blind." Sagan's eyes widened in horror as he watched Earth's orbital platforms light up like avenging stars. Beams of concentrated energy lanced out, punching through unprotected hulls and sending Edosian ships spinning into the void. On the Dominion's bridge, chaos reigned. "Evasive maneuvers," Sagan roared. "Get our shields back online." But it was too late. The combined firepower of Earth's defenses hammered the flagship relentlessly. Explosions rocked the massive vessel as armor plating buckled and atmosphere vented into space. In the midst of the carnage, a squad of sleek boarding pods detached from a cloaked human vessel. Jack Reeves gripped his weapon tightly as his pod hurtled towards the Dominion's ravaged hull. "Remember, people," he addressed his team, "our target is Sagan. Take him alive if possible, but don't hesitate to eliminate if necessary." The pods slammed into the Edosian flagship, cutting through weakened armor like knives through butter. Jack's team burst out, immediately engaging Sagan's elite guards in a brutal firefight. "Push forward!" Jack shouted over the din of battle. "We can't let him escape!" As they fought their way through the Dominion's twisting corridors, Sagan's desperate voice echoed through the ship's comm system. "Initiate self-destruct sequence. Authorization Sagan Alpha 9. The Supreme Commander's words cut off abruptly as Xander's voice replaced his. "Not today, you overgrown lobster." Jack allowed himself a grim smile as he led his team towards the bridge. They were close now, so close to ending this nightmare once and for all. The doors to the command center exploded inward, and Jack's team surged through the breach. Sagan stood at the center of the room, surrounded by his most loyal guards, his eyes blazing with hatred. "You think you've won?" the Edosian leader snarled. "This is just the beginning." As the two sides clashed in a final desperate battle, Marcus Wright arrived with reinforcements, his eyes locked with Sagan's across the chaos of the bridge. "It's over," Marcus declared, raising his weapon. "Surrender now and spare what's left of your people." Sagan's mandibles clicked in defiance as he lunged forward, but Marcus was ready. With lightning-fast reflexes, he disarmed the Edosian commander, sending him crashing to the deck. As Sagan's capture was confirmed, the remaining Edosian ships began to break formation. Some fled, while others signaled their surrender. The invasion that had threatened to annihilate humanity was finally, improbably, over. Back on Earth, cheers erupted in command centers and shelters alike. But as the adrenaline of victory faded, the true cost of the conflict became clear. Cities lay in ruins, millions were dead or displaced, and the very foundations of human understanding had been shaken to the core. Ethan Mitchell stood before a gathering of world leaders, his face etched with the weight of recent events. "We've won the battle," he began, "but our greatest challenges lie ahead." "Ahead?" Ethan continued, his voice carrying the weight of recent events. "The Edosians have retreated, but our victory is far from secure." He gestured to a holographic display, revealing the battered remnants of the alien armada limping away from Earth's solar system. "Our intelligence suggests they're regrouping, awaiting reinforcements from their core worlds." A murmur of concern rippled through the assembled leaders. Ethan's eyes narrowed as he zoomed in on intercepted Edosian communications. "What's more, we've uncovered disturbing evidence that the full might of their military-industrial complex is being mobilized for a final overwhelming counterattack." The room erupted in a cacophony of voices, fear and uncertainty palpable in the air. Ethan raised a hand, silencing the crowd. "We have a narrow window to prepare. Earth's transformation has left us with hidden reserves of rare minerals. We must use them to fortify our defenses and expand our production capabilities." As the meeting adjourned, Ethan found himself face-to-face with a young engineer, her eyes bright with grit. "Mr. Mitchell," she said, extending her hand, "I'm Ava Torres. I have some ideas about reverse engineering the Archon technology that could give us an edge." Ethan nodded, impressed by her initiative. "Walk with me, Ms. Torres. I want to hear everything." Meanwhile, deep within a secure facility, Marcus Wright stood before a containment cell, his teeth gritted as he stared at the prisoner within. Supreme Commander Sagan, despite his defeat, radiated defiance. "Your species is doomed," Sagan spat, mandibles clicking. "The Empire will crush you beneath its heel." Marcus's hand tightened on his weapon, a dangerous glint in his eye. "You've lost, Sagan. Accept it. Marcus. Jack Reeves's steady voice cut through the tension. He's not worth it. We need him alive. With a frustrated growl, Marcus turned away. As they exited the cell block, Jack placed a hand on his friend's shoulder. We've got a new mission. Ethan wants us to check out some coordinates Aaliyah's team discovered. Possible Archon outpost in the Kuiper Belt. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Sounds like a long shot. Jack grinned. Since when has that ever stopped us? Days later, as Earth's first interstellar war fleet took shape in massive orbital shipyards, a sleek vessel cut through the void of the outer solar system. Jack Reeves stood on the bridge, watching as a tiny icy body grew larger on the console. We're approaching the coordinates, announced Zara, the defected Adoshan scientist who had proven invaluable to their mission. As they neared the frozen planetoid, energy readings spiked. A shimmer in space revealed a hidden structure emerging from the icy surface. Jack's eyes widened. My God, he breathed. It's real. The ship docked with the ancient outpost, and Jack led a team inside, weapons at the ready. As they ventured deeper, signs of recent activity became apparent. Suddenly, a figure stepped out of the shadows, tall and lithe, with skin that seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly light. Halt, the being commanded, its voice resonating with power. You trespass in the realm of the Archons. Jack lowered his weapon slowly. We come in peace, he said, heart pounding. We're from Earth. We've been using your technology to defend ourselves against the Adoshans. The Archon's eyes narrowed. The Devourers still plague the galaxy? Interesting. It studied them for a long moment before nodding. I am Valrin. Come. We have much to discuss. As Jack's team followed Valrin deeper into the outpost, he couldn't shake the feeling that they had just stumbled upon something far bigger than they could have imagined. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. The Archon outpost hummed with ancient power as Jack's team followed Valrin deeper into its cavernous interior. Holographic displays flickered to life, revealing star charts and tactical readouts that spanned millennia. Your world stands at a precipice, Valrin intoned, his luminous skin pulsing with each word. The Devourers, what you call Edosians, will not rest until Earth is consumed. Jack's comm unit crackled. Reeves, this is Mitchell. We're picking up massive energy signatures approaching the system. It's them. As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the outpost. Valrin's eyes widened. They've found us. We must act now. The team sprinted back to their ship, Valrin keeping pace effortlessly. As they broke an atmosphere, the void of space erupted into chaos. The Adoshan armada materialized like a swarm of angry insects, their hulls gleaming with malevolent purpose. Earth's newly constructed fleet rose to meet them, a patchwork of human ingenuity and reverse-engineered Archon technology. At their center loomed Gaia's command ship, a colossal vessel that dwarfed even the largest Adosian dreadnoughts. Ethan Mitchell's voice rang out across all channels. All ships, battle formation Delta, protect the orbital defense grid at all costs. The space between Earth and Mars ignited with weapons fire. Beams of searing energy lanced between vessels, while swarms of fighters engaged in lightning-fast dogfights. Jack watched in awe as Ava Torres led a squadron of advanced starfighters, their nimble craft dancing between salvos of Edoshan fire. Reeves, Ethan's voice cut through the chaos. Get Valrin to the command deck. We need his expertise. As their ship docked with Gaia's flagship, the battle intensified. Massive Adoshan dreadnoughts unleashed volleys of planet-killer ordnance, their energy beams slicing through Earth's shields like paper. Orbital defense stations exploded in silent balls of fire, debris raining down on the planet below. On the ground, Marcus Wright led a desperate defense against Edoshan drop pods that had breached the perimeter. The streets of what was once New York City became a war zone, human soldiers exchanging fire with insectoid invaders amid crumbling skyscrapers. Push them back, Marcus roared, his enhanced strength allowing him to hurl an Adoshan warrior bodily into its comrades. We can't let them reach the power nodes. Back in orbit, Jack and Valrin reached the command deck. Ethan stood before a dizzying array of holographic displays, his eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. the mark of his bond with Gaia. Supreme Commander Sagan is leading the assault personally, Ethan reported, his voice overlaid with Gaia's digital tones. He's adapted to our cloaking technology. We need a new strategy. Valrin stepped forward, his ancient eyes scanning the tactical readouts. There is a way, he said softly, but it requires great sacrifice. As the Archon shared his plan, the tide of battle shifted. A bold Edosian strike breached Earth's inner defense grid, alien capital ships penetrating deep into low orbit. Jared Hawkins and his fighter squadron found themselves in the thick of it, desperately defending the orbital shipyards. "Theta wing on me!" Jared barked, his fighter corkscrewing through a hail of plasma fire. "We need to buy time for the evacuation." Their nimble craft wove between towering gantries and half-finished hulls, drawing Edosian fire away from the fleeing construction crews. One by one, Jared watched his squad mates' signals wink out on his display. In the tumult of battle, few noticed the small archaeological vessel that slipped away from Earth, carrying Aliyah Patel and Zara towards a set of coordinates in the outer system. Their screens lit up as they approached an unremarkable asteroid, and then space itself seemed to ripple. "By the void," Zara breathed, her mandibles clicking in awe. "It's real." Before them hung a massive Archon warship, its sleek lines a stark contrast to the brutal efficiency of Edosian design. As they docked with the ancient vessel, Aliyah's fingers flew across unfamiliar controls. "Gaia, are you receiving this?" she called out, her voice tight with excitement and fear. "We've found it, the weapon Valrin spoke of." Back on the command deck, Ethan nodded grimly. "Understood. Prepare for activation sequence. This ends now." As the battle raged on, humanity poised on a knife's edge between extinction and survival. The forgotten legacy of the Archons stirred to life once more. The ancient vessel's systems hummed to life, pulsing with energy that defied human understanding. Aliyah's voice crackled over the comms, tense but determined. "Gaia, we're initiating the activation sequence. Brace for power surge." On the command deck of humanity's flagship, Ethan Mitchell's eyes glowed with an otherworldly light as Gaia's consciousness merged with the Archon warship's systems. The massive vessel shuddered, its hull gleaming with lines of crackling energy. "All units, fall back!" Ethan's amplified voice boomed across the battlefield. "Prepare for full offensive." The human fleet scattered, creating a path for the Archon warship. It surged forward, unleashing a barrage of exotic energy weapons that tore through the Edosian armada. Shields collapsed, hulls disintegrated, and entire ships vanished in blinding flashes of light. Aboard the Edosian command ship, Supreme Commander Sagan watched in horror as his fleet crumbled. His mandibles clicked furiously as he turned to his subordinates. "Initiate Protocol Omega. If we cannot have this system, no one will." Across the battlefield, crippled Edosian vessels began to glow with ominous energy. Ava Torres, monitoring the situation from a nearby orbital platform, recognized the danger immediately. "They're overloading their reactors," she shouted into her comm. "All ships, brace for impact." The first Edosian cruiser detonated, unleashing a shockwave that shattered orbital defenses and sent debris hurtling towards Earth. Ava's fingers flew across her console, rerouting power and reinforcing shields. "Divert all non-essential power to the defensive grid," she ordered. "We can't let those impacts reach the surface." As the battle in space raged, Marcus Wright led his strike team through the corridors of the Edosian command ship. Plasma bolts sizzled past their heads as they fought their way towards the bridge. "Jack, take point!" Marcus shouted, his enhanced muscles allowing him to hurl an Edosian warrior into a bulkhead. "We need to reach Sagan before he can initiate any more suicide runs." Captain Jack Reeves nodded grimly, his rifle spitting death as he cleared the path ahead. The team pushed forward, leaving a trail of fallen Edosian guards in their wake. Meanwhile, deep in the outer solar system, Aliyah Patel and Zara worked feverishly to disable the last of the Edosian doomsday weapons. Their ship's sensors suddenly lit up with new contacts. "Aliyah, we have company," Zara hissed, her mandibles twitching nervously. A trio of Edosian vessels decloaked around them, weapons trained on their small craft. But instead of opening fire, a transmission crackled through their comms. "Humans, hold your fire," a gravelly voice announced. "We seek parley." Aliyah exchanged a surprised glance with Zara. "Identify yourselves," she demanded. "We are the Seekers of Truth," the voice replied, "a faction within the Adosian Empire who oppose Sagan's fanaticism. We offer our aid in exchange for amnesty." Back on the Adosian command ship, Marcus and his team finally breached the bridge. They burst through the doors, weapons raised, only to find Supreme Commander Sagan waiting for them. The Adosian leader stood alone, his guard lying dead around him. In his clawed hand, he held a pulsing device connected to the ship's central console. "You're too late, humans," Sagan snarled. "With the press of this button, I will overload our quantum singularity core. Your entire system will be consumed." Marcus stepped forward, his enhanced body tensed for action. "It's over, Sagan. Surrender now and we can end this without further bloodshed." Sagan's multifaceted eyes gleamed with madness. "End? This is only the beginning of your extinction." He lunged for the console, but Marcus was faster. The two titans clashed in a furious melee, their superhuman strength leaving dents in the ship's reinforced bulkheads. As they grappled, Jack Reeves and the rest of the strike team worked to disable the ship's systems. Alarms blared, and the deck shuddered beneath their feet. "Marcus, we're out of time," Jack shouted. "The core's going critical." Marcus, locked in combat with Sagan, gritted his teeth. "Then we finish this here and now." In orbit around Earth, the Archon warship unleashed its ultimate weapon. A wave of energy unlike anything humanity had ever witnessed swept across the battlefield, destabilizing the Adosians' subspace drives and trapping their remaining ships in normal space. Ethan Mitchell, his consciousness still merged with Gaia and the Archon systems, sensed the growing instability aboard the Adosian flagship. "All units, clear the area," he commanded. "The enemy command ship is about to detonate." As the human forces retreated, a lone squadron of fighters broke formation, streaking towards the doomed Adosian vessel. "This is Wing Commander Hawkins," Jared's voice crackled over the comms. "We're going in." Ethan's eyes widened in realization. "Jared, no! Fall back immediately!" But it was too late. Jared and his pilots had made their choice. Their fighters, retrofitted with Archon technology, plunged into the heart of the Adosian flagship. In a blinding flash of light, they collided with the ship's quantum singularity containment field. The resulting explosion was spectacular, but contained. The Adosian flagship disintegrated, taking Supreme Commander Sagan and the last of his loyal forces with it. As the light faded and the debris settled, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. The remaining Adosian ships, their leadership decapitated and their drives disabled, had no choice but to surrender. Ethan Mitchell stood on the command deck, his eyes returning to normal as Gaia's consciousness retreated from the Archon systems. He looked out at the battered Earth, the remnants of two mighty fleets, and the ancient Archon warship that had turned the tide. "It's over," he breathed, hardly daring to believe it. "We've won." But as the adrenaline of victory faded, the true cost of the conflict became clear. Earth hung in space, its surface scarred by orbital bombardments. Millions were dead or displaced, and the very foundations of human understanding had been shaken to the core. As the last Adosian ships powered down their weapons, Ethan knew that this was not an ending, but a new beginning. Humanity had survived its trial by fire, but the challenges ahead would be no less daunting. The galaxy had opened up before them, filled with wonders and terrors beyond imagination. And somewhere out there, the last of the Archons waited, ready to guide humanity into a new age of exploration and discovery. The acrid smell of burnt ozone and molten metal permeated the command deck as Ethan Mitchell gazed out at the scarred visage of Earth. Debris from shattered warships drifted silently past the viewport, a grim reminder of the cataclysmic battle that had just unfolded. "Gaia, begin casualty assessment," Ethan said, his voice hoarse from hours of shouting orders. The AI's holographic form shimmered into existence beside him. "Initiating full-spectrum scan of Earth and orbital installations. Preliminary estimates indicate significant loss of life." Ethan's eyes hardened. How significant? Millions, Ethan, perhaps tens of millions. The weight of those words settled on his shoulders like a physical burden. He thought of Jared Hawkins and his brave pilots, their signals winking out in that final, desperate assault on the Adosian flagship. Heroes, all of them. A commotion near the rear of the command deck drew Ethan's attention. Two security officers were escorting a bound figure, the captured Supreme Commander Sagan. The Adosian leader's chitinous armor was cracked and scorched, green ichor oozing from several wounds. "You think this is over, human?" Sagan spat, his multifaceted eyes glinting with hatred. "The Empire will return. We will grind your pathetic species into cosmic dust." Marcus Wright stepped forward, his enhanced muscles coiled with terrifying fury. "Shut your mandibles, bug," he growled, "or I'll shut them for you." Ethan raised a hand, silencing them both. "Take him to the brig. We'll deal with him later." As Sagan was led away, Aliyah Patel burst onto the command deck, her dark eyes wide with excitement and fear. "Ethan, you need to see this," she said, tapping furiously at her datapad. "We've cracked the Adosian command codes. We have the location of their throne world." A hush fell over the assembled officers as the implications sank in. Ethan's mind raced. With this information, they could strike at the very heart of the Adosian Empire, end the threat once and for all. But at what cost? Ava Torres stepped forward, her face etched with concern. "We can't seriously be considering an attack on their homeworld," she said. "That would make us no better than them." Marcus whirled on her. "They came here to exterminate us," he shouted. "We have a chance to make sure they never threaten Earth again." The debate raged on, voices rising in anger and fear. Ethan felt the weight of the decision pressing down on him. He turned to Zara, the defected Adosian scientist who had aided them throughout the conflict. "Zara," he said quietly, "tell me the truth. If we let them go, will they come back?" Zara's mandibles clicked softly. "My people. We are taught from birth that conquest is our destiny. The Empire has subjugated countless worlds. I fear that as long as it exists, Earth will never truly be safe." Before Ethan could respond, an alert chimed from the main console. Commander Valrin's face appeared on the console, his ancient eyes filled with an unreadable emotion. "Ethan Mitchell," the Archon said, "we have completed our analysis of the battle. The threat to this system has been neutralized. We will be departing shortly." Ethan blinked in surprise. "Departing? But there's still so much we need to learn from you. Your technology, your history." Valrin cut him off with a wave of his hand. "Our role here is finished. You must forge your own path now, without our influence. The choice before you is yours alone to make." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving Ethan staring at a blank screen. He turned back to the viewport, watching as the massive Archon warship began to power up its engines. The fate of humanity now rested squarely on his shoulders. Strike at the Adosian throne world and potentially commit genocide, or show mercy and risk future invasion. As Ethan looked out at the battle-scarred Earth, he knew that whatever choice he made would define not just the future of his species, but its very soul.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.